Thank you for having me. Thank you again for Justina Foundation, Mutale, to be hosting me, and also for the great work that she has been doing to promote the girl child, and to thank you for everything that she's doing to do just that. We need more champions like herself. So Larissa, it's been an amazing journey, and it's been kind of a haphazard. Because I never plan anything. Everything just happened. And so, I'm speaking today, so maybe you could have more pointed question that will lead to our discussion. And I'll be very happy to share, whatever pearls of wisdom that I may bring to the narrative.
Well, we've come so far in 2020, and yet we still have so far to go. And it seems that every time we take a few steps forward, something undoubtedly happens to set us backward. And one of the greatest challenges I see for women is not so much the glass ceiling, but even perhaps women together, as sometimes we have a tendency to sabotage one another, I always say, instead of support one another. Could you speak to the value and benefit of women collaboration, working together and empowering one another to ensure that we have a much stronger way forward and a position in politics and leadership, as well as society as a whole globally?
I'm very happy that you've raised this subject, Larissa, because as a community of women, we have a very serious problem. And you have put your finger really on the issue. We don't see, I will be very blunt here, because I think we're speaking amongst ourselves and also to the girls who are listening to us, because they need to know. We have an issue amongst ourselves, women. When we have reached a certain position, be it of power, be it of influence, or whatever we have achieved, we seem to be wanting to elbow other women out. And this is deplorable. And I will again be very, very boring and have to cite again Madeleine Albright when she says, there's a special place in hell for those women who don't help other women. And it's very true. I've witnessed it. And this is one of the reasons why I've said to myself, I will help that girl child. I will show her that she needs to believe in herself. But still, she still needs to believe in the community of women. And if we are going to rise together, we're going to have to take that girl by the hand and take that woman, young woman by the hand and make her rise with us. Otherwise, we're all going to sink together. And this is not something that we want. We want more women out there. We want more women out there because we need to change the narrative. And if you see what's happening in the COVID space, in the COVID era we are living in, we see that almost over 70% of the frontliners, they are women. But women who are influencing policy, they are less than 25%. So there's something grossly wrong here. So how do we change that? And I come up with another cliche that if there is no space for you at that table, bring a chair. Bring a chair along and make that difference. We need that. We need more women at the table. In fact, like has been said before, women have to be where decisions are being made.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And you have accomplished something very remarkable as the first female president. You're a world-renowned biologist. How do we start to accelerate opportunities for women in careers outside of the traditional roles that too often we are still channeled into and guided towards, rather than careers in STEM, or as a good friend of mine who I will be speaking with later says, STEAM, as we add analytics in the middle of that. How do we start to encourage women to look at careers in perhaps non-traditional sectors and industries?
I see the channeling of women as the very famous, leaky pipe syndrome. Right? We need to push more women in so that we have more women outside on the other side of the pipe. Unfortunately, there are many hurdles that women have to encounter, and that starts at a very young age. It starts with a girl child. because she's forever being told that, science is not for her. She should be happy getting a husband, getting married, and, of course, nurturing kids. Of course, this is a very, very important role. I've done it. My mom has done it for me. And it's a very important role not to be neglected. But women can do so much more. But unfortunately, the stereotyping starts at a very early age. And in some parts of the world, when that child managed to get an education when she goes to school, the infrastructure is not there. It's not ready for her. I'll just give you an example. We are talking about girls, at puberty, getting the period. Very often they have to leave school for 1 week a month because the infrastructure isn't there for her to accommodate her as a girl. Then when she opens her book, what does she see? She doesn't see any women who have made it. And this is what we need to do. We need to change the stereotype in the textbooks. So she goes up. And of course, she goes up, she does very well, and she comes up at university. And I saw that when I was at the university, when I was teaching girls, they were doing so much better than the male colleagues. But they seem to be stuck at the middle management position. She doesn't get, kind of boosted up. And there again, so many cliches come in. If a woman is too ambitious, she'll be told, that she's too feisty, she's too aggressive, and all these epithets which get stuck to her. And of course, the other very famous cliche that I will come up with, when a man comes home late after a day's job, he'll be told he's hardworking. And when a woman comes home late after a day's work or whatever she's pushing, driving her own ambition, she will get told that she's selfish because she's not looking after the family. Again, I have lived through this, so I can safely say that these are the realities of a woman's life when she wants to further her career. And this is where I bring in the gender role, because gender is both men and women. And I think we have seen some countries that have been very, very famous in terms of the progressive policies, and they have seen so many women coming up very prominently, and that's in Scandinavian countries, which have been very, very prominent in family-oriented policies. And they are earning the benefits. So these are things that I think at the level of the Justina Mutali Foundation, we need to keep on engaging with women to show women that they can do it because they are needed up there. We need more women leaders. We need more women policymakers, more women scientists. And I think for the first time in the Nobel history, we have seen 4 women this year who have been, recognized for their contribution in whatever areas they have chosen to be in.
Absolutely. And I think, it starts with the child as we teach them to refine their confidence in the attributes that will allow them to grow up to be good leaders and be able to achieve really anything that they set out to achieve without being channeled into very specific and traditional roles. But one of the challenges that we have, and I believe this is pretty much true in all nations, is that women in childbearing years also always find themselves in a conflicted position of maintaining their job position and putting off perhaps having children out of fear of losing their career growth. And how do we encourage businesses to really work with younger women who are climbing the career ladder to ensure that they can have the confidence of knowing that their career journey can continue even if they take a slight pause to have a family?
That's a very, very important question, Larissa, and I'm very happy that you have raised it because whenever a woman is precisely at the childbearing age, this is the time when she's also very productive in her career. And unfortunately, society will say she needs to take time off to look after the baby, but taking time off means 6 months, means 1 year, means 2 years. And this is, as far as I was concerned, it's time lost. Because the way she'll have to catch up when she gets back into that job, if she gets back at all, because by that time the second pregnancy or sometimes the third pregnancy kicks in and the woman gets marginalized. And unfortunately, her male colleague will not be accommodating. So I think this is again where progressive policies have to be put in place where there can be a nursery in the job space And this is something that many countries are adhering to. And this is also where parenting has to be shared. And there has to be more paternal leaves. And there has to be, of course, equally distributed leave for both mother and father. And this is something that society has to, again, this is a very, very cliche. And in some very conservative society, the rearing, of course, the child is still the woman's role. And so this is, again, what we have to keep on addressing, that the woman also needs her time, needs her space, and the policies have to accompany her. And of course, in many countries, the fathers are being incentivized to take the parental leave to look after the child. And those countries that have done it again, and I think one country that has done it that comes to mind straight away is, of course, Sweden. And we see that the family thrives better because the father takes a much more proactive role in the family. And this is what we need as well. And in many countries, this still has to be challenged. And of course, this has to be done because we need both the mother and the father in terms of, in terms of joint parenthood. That's only fair.
How do we encourage the workplace, and this is globally as well, to be more accommodating to women in the workplace? You mentioned nurseries, which I believe is very important, but women have to be comfortable enough to use those nurseries without feeling that they're being belittled by male colleagues for having to take the necessary breaks throughout the day, that the responsibility of motherhood entails. But women also too often feel in the workplace that they have to emulate a man. They have to dress in a very conservative manner, they have to keep their emotions in check. And part of the value that I believe we bring to the workplace is our varied perspective and our emotional perspective and our sense of empathy that we have. So how can we make global workplaces a bit more accommodating and welcoming to a woman as an executive or a young professional?
Yes. Again, I'm smiling because I have been accused. In fact, I'm very happy to see, Larissa, we're both wearing pink.
And it was not planned.
Exactly, we didn't plan it at all. I think a woman must be proud to be a woman. Right. And I've said this, I say this to my daughter, don't be afraid to say that you're a woman, you do things differently. Again, I'll come back to the COVID era. We have seen that those countries that have had the best result, at least for up till now, they have been countries that have been led by women. We bring in a different management style. We bring in empathy. We bring in communication, we bring it pastoral care. These are characteristics which women can bring. So please, when you're a career woman who have made it to a certain position, please don't change. Please don't wear this gray suit and this white shirts. Be comfortable to be wearing a dress. Be comfortable to be wearing high heel stilettos if you have to, if you feel comfortable in it. Of course, running and walk in them. Yes. So and when I used to say, when people used to call me Mr., because when you are at the end of the phone, when they see professor associate with you in science, the first reaction is to call you Mr. So I said to these people, please don't demote me. Don't call me Mr. I'm very happy to be a woman. So please call me Mrs. Please call me doctor. Please call me professor. But I'm very comfortable with being a woman and to be an achieving woman. So please don't change. Be yourself.
Thank you for that. We suffer from gender inclusiveness problems around the world, even in the most complex and developed nations. How do we begin to advocate for policy changes in those developing nations where women are still more or less seen in the traditional roles and lack the opportunity, sometimes even to have a small job that will give them their own financial independence? How do we begin to promote women in business in these developing economies?
That's a very tall order, Larissa, because in many parts of the world, it is still not possible to be a functioning woman as an entrepreneur. In many parts of the world, a woman has to be accompanied by a father or husband or a brother to even open a bank account. In many parts of the world, the laws are not on her side. She will not have access to credit. She will not have access to land because she is a woman. And again, in countries which deem to say they are progressive, we need to change that law. That law has to be, and in some countries, I can also again mention, again, it is the Scandinavian countries, where if there are not enough women on boards, for example, these countries, they are liable to shut down. They can shut down. These companies are liable to be shut down by the state because they are not progressive enough. I have been on committees where if you don't bring in a certain percentage of women into the award of scholarships, for example, these projects, they will not pass. So it's a give and take situation. We need to have women acknowledging that, they need to do more effort towards women. We need to have the state also enacting the appropriate laws. But more importantly, we need a change in mindset amongst ourselves. When, again, I'll come back to the first question you asked me, we need to have women taking other women by the hand. And this is why we need more of the Justina Mutali Foundation to do what they're doing, to promote these women, to help them, to tell them that they can do it. And there are other women behind her, because very often women find themselves alone in position of responsibility. Mind you, it's a very, very lonely position to be out there at the top. But if we know there's a community of women behind us, we should be able to make more headways and make more progress in our respective societies.